Hello and welcome to the Global Electronics Reports. It's Friday, December 2nd, and my name is David Burford. The BBC has reported that Samsung has confirmed that they are considering splitting the company in two. The move comes from mounting pressure since the trouble the company faced with the faulty Note 7 phones. Samsung's production of the flagship smartphone model was halted due to the company not being able to resolve an issue with batteries overheating and the devices catching fire. The aim of the company splitting is to simplify the structure of the business, so it is clearer to get a valuation of their assets. Several investors are said to be in favour of the proposal. In other business news, Cognex Corporation has made recent acquisitions of two 3D vision companies. They acquired German 3D vision and software maker Enshape GmbH at the end of October and Spanish company AQSense, who sell a library of field-tested 3D vision tools and a configuration software package. That acquisition being made in August. The current software engineering staff have joined Cognex's 3D engineering team. An agreement on what the final structure of an EU regulation in conflict minerals has been reached this week. The objective of the agreement is to prevent armed groups in developing countries from receiving finance through the trade of tungsten, tin, tantalum and gold. EU Trade Commissioner Celia Malmstrom stated that the rules that were agreed upon are a huge step forward in efforts to stop human rights abuses and armed conflict financed by trade in minerals. She also said that she was convinced that for the people suffering in these conflicts, the rules would have a real impact on the ground. More than 95% of all EU imports of tungsten, tin, tantalum and gold from January 2021 will be from sustainable sources set in the regulations. There will also be supporting measures for small to medium-sized importers, along with development aid, so that the regulation has positive results. Global SMT and Packaging Editor-in-Chief Trevor Galbraith spoke with IPC's firm Abrams regarding the conflict mineral regulations.
So, firm, thank you for joining us today. There's a couple of big stories out of the EU this week that are connected with IPC, one of them being on the conflict mineral regulations. So what representations and recommendations did IPC make to the Commission?
Well, we have been lobbying not just the Commission, but also the Parliament and the Council, because under EU government, it's a trilogue agreement. So it's an agreement of the EU Council, which is made up of representatives from the member states, the Parliament, which is directly elected by the EU citizens, and the Commission, which is the technical or bureaucratic staff.
So how does this differ, this legislation from the EU, how does that differ from Dodd-Frank?
Well, as we said, as we already discussed, it's global in scope. Dodd-Frank in the U.S. applies specifically to the DRC and the 8 adjacent countries. Secondly, Dodd-Frank is mandatory to any company listed on the U.S. stock exchange. The EU program is going to work a little differently. It's going to apply to those who import raw materials for smelting and refining in the EU. So the upstream operators, those that are closest to the mining, have the most likelihood of getting accurate information about where those minerals were mined and have direct influence on the sourcing of those minerals. As I understand, and the details have not yet been published because they haven't been approved yet, this will also apply to importers of refined metal stage products. So we suspect that may apply to some members of the electronics industry, but we're still waiting for details on that. Downstream participation will be voluntary. This is a big difference from Dodd-Frank.
An interesting thing that happened this week, of course, is that the incoming Treasury Secretary, Stephen Mnuchin, mentioned that he's planning to roll back some of the aspects of Dodd-Frank, presumably to make it more competitive for business in the United States. Do you have any news on that, or any views on this?
We certainly do. This is good news from the incoming Treasury Secretary. This picks up on work already done by Congressman Jem Hensarling, who is chairman of the House Financial Services Committee. That committee passed an act that was introduced by the chairman called the Financial Choice Act that was passed in September. So the Congress has already, even before the elections and before Treasury Secretary's statement, the House leadership has already been thinking along those lines.
Well, Fern, thank you for joining us today and giving us an update on this legislation, which is going to affect a lot of manufacturers in our industry. It's great to see you.
Thank you. We'll be posting further updates on our website as we get more details.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Regional and international partners of kurtz ersa converged on Guadalajara to attend the ribbon-cutting ceremony and grand opening of their new technology and demo centre. The new 200 square metre office, with more than 12 sales and service staff, has tripled its warehouse area, being able to serve local customers faster and in a more cost-effective way. During the event, ersa held live demonstrations of some of their key product lines, including Hot Flow 320 reflow soldering system, the VersaFlow 345 selective soldering system, and the HR602 rework system. Industry consultant Bob Willis presented 4 seminars to 20 Chinese engineers visiting Chelmsford's Anglia Ruskin University. The topics included printed circuit board inspection, quality control and failure analysis, cleaning printed circuit assemblies, design and process control, conformal coating, application and inspection, and BGA CSP flip chip PCB design and assembly. That's it for this week. Check back next week for more top stories from around the electronics world.